So I think most people are here. Just started recording the session. Any questions, raise your hand or put something in chat. Do have a look at the chat because there's a Kahoot quiz as part of this. So there's the code and everything's there. So we're now recording this. I will hand you over to our partners from DHL. We've got Tutu and Emily who are going to be presenting on this, and I really appreciate them giving their time to join us today. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Tutu and Emily, who are going to be leading this session. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. Great. So really pleased to be here. Great to see loads of people on the call. I see lots of people still coming in. I'm keeping an eye on that, Alison. So I'm trying to admit people as well as they go in. So my name is Tutu Akinkoye. I am the GoGreen lead for DHL Supply Chain in the UK and Ireland, and GoGreen is our environmental protection program. I've been with the business for about 12 to 13 years now. I will tell you a little bit more about my career as we get through the presentation itself. And I also have Emily joining me today.
Hi everyone, hopefully everyone can hear me all right. So yeah, I'm Emily, work with Tutu within the GoGreen team for the UK and Ireland for DHL Supply Chain. I'll tell you a little bit more about the company structure in a minute and a bit more about logistics and what we do, and also we'll be covering off our role as well. So for any of you who've just joined, you should be able to see the Kahoot code in the chat. So make sure you have Kahoot sort of open on a device. We're going to be sort of having a few Kahoot questions going throughout the course of the session. So hopefully keeping you guys engaged and keeping it a little bit interactive for you as well. We've also got a video, so hopefully it won't be death by PowerPoint for you all. So let's see how we get on. So without further ado, we'll move on. If it moves. Okay, so yeah, so all of you would have signed up to this in terms, and you would have seen this question when you signed up to this webinar. So, can a logistics company really go green? So some of you might already have some preconceptions and ideas around this, but what we're going to look to do in terms of, the next sort of 40 minutes or so is to really take you through a bit of a journey, talk you through what we actually do as a company, so what is logistics, what we do in terms of some of our sustainability solutions, and take you through a little bit of our timeline as well in terms of where we've got to. And then hopefully from that, you'll be able to make your own decision. And the last Kahoot question, well, one of the last ones will be, do you think a logistics company can really go green? So hopefully from what you hear, you'll then be able to make that decision. So bear that in mind as we move through this. Okay, so we're going to start. We're going to try and make it, as interactive from the beginning. And we're going to ask you a question here on Kahoot. So obviously we work in logistics, but do you know, or what do you think logistics is? So we're going to move on to Kahoot. That's the first question around sort of what do you think logistics is?
So hopefully you should be able to see the game. I see that some people have joined. Can you see my screen? Hopefully you can. A number of people have joined the game as well. I'll just start now. So the question is, as it comes up, right, so what word or phrase do you associate with logistics? So just type your answers and let's see what comes through there. So what word or phrase do you associate with logistics? If you think about logistics, what comes to mind? So a couple of answers coming through there. Got a couple of seconds. Okay, getting to the end.
Just put what first comes to mind. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. So let's see what's coming. Oh, there we go. So if we've got warehouse, no idea. That's brilliant. Well, hopefully you'll know by the time we're done. So warehouse, right? No idea. Organization, transport, equipment. Yeah, no wrong or right answer here, especially no idea. So that's not a wrong answer. It just means that hopefully we should be able to tell you what that means throughout the course of the presentation today. So Emily, do you want to tell us what that means then? What is logistics?
Yes, so hopefully you can see again. So this is our definition. Like I say, you know, there was no right or wrong answer, but our definition of logistics is shown here on screen. So it's about having the right items in the right place at the right time. So sort of the 3 R's as such. You know, the 3 rights, right items, right place, right time. And in terms of us, so I know we said that we work for DHL Supply Chain, but this is sort of a bit of a sort of company structure in terms of where we sit. So DHL Supply Chain sits under the Deutsche Post DHL group, and we then sit within the supply chain divisions. So there's multiple divisions, like sort of grey box is showing the different divisions. And where we work is within the UK and Ireland, but we do work with sort of the other regions that are also shown on screen there as well, within the GoGreen team. So we just move on. So this here is just going to give you a bit of an idea about the size and the scale of DHL Supply Chain, UK and Ireland. So these are just some key numbers we've just picked out just to give you a bit of an idea about how many people work for DHL Supply Chain. So we're 2 of those 40,000 people, the number of drivers, the size, you know, number of operations we run, and we're a customer-led business. So we work with sort of 380 customers, and well, around 380, but that's always growing, and you know, within our warehousing and transport operations. And just to give you an idea, these are some of the customers that we work with. This is just a range of them, but we work with, like I say, many more than just these. But hopefully some of these you may recognise, especially some of the high street customers. But you know, there's a varied range of different customers that we work with. But if you don't recognise all of them, I'll move on and show you some of the products and services, some of the products we move around and some of the services we do for those customers within the logistics industry. So this is just to give you a bit of an idea, and they're split into different sort of parts of the DHL Supply Chain UK and Ireland. So within the retail space, some of what we do is getting the clothes into the shops so that people can buy them. We might do some of the e-commerce as well. Obviously, there's the consumer side of things. So if you think about chocolate, or if you think about, you know, buying toothbrush and toothpaste, there's obviously logistics to actually be able to get them to the shops. And I mean, there's a various different range of things we do. We move fuel to get them into the fuel pumps. And specifically, if we focus, obviously, with the COVID pandemic still going on, we've played a massive role in that in our life sciences division. So we did a lot of the movement of the ventilators, the PPE, so masks and some of the other PPE. We also moved the vaccines around. So to get them into the right place at the right time when they're needed. So we're working, quite a lot of what we do is very time pressured in terms of me able to, you know, needing to get things in the right place at the right time. So I've got a couple of more Kahoot questions here, just around a bit of what we do and it's, you know, the questions are around some stats. So I think they're just going to pop up now. Okay. So I think Tutu's on mute, but I'll read the question out. So what percentage of shops do DHL Supply Chain supply to in Oxford Street, London? So I said that, you know, we move quite a lot of, you know, we do a lot for retail, but what percentage of shops do you think that is? Okay. And the answer was
80%.
80, yes, 80%. So only one of you got that right, but don't worry, because you know, this is why you're here, isn't it? To understand a bit more about what we do.
And there are more questions to get right as well, right?
Yeah, so it's a lot more than what you think, maybe.
Okay, and the next question, so we've dealt with shops, but like Emily said, you know, it's not just goods and services. So we actually service the life science sector. So how many patients do we transport in London, in and out from London from hospital each year? So it's not just products, but it's also people as well, because it's moving people for their hospital appointments. So how many patients do we transport in London to and from hospital each year? And the answer is over 100,000. So yeah, we physically transport people in ambulances or in ambulance type vehicles between hospital appointments as well.
Okay, hopefully you can see my screen again. So we'll move on. If it will move, that is. Okay, so what does all that mean, you know, for us, and what do those products mean? So in terms of those products, you might not think it, or you might not have ever thought about it, but obviously every one of those products has a footprint. So if you think about how those products are produced, the transportation of those products, the use of those products, and then also that disposal of those products, there is a footprint, so a carbon footprint, waste and energy usage associated with those products. So, and if you think about the transportation of that, and you know the warehousing side of that as well, quite a big percentage of that carbon footprint can be attributed to the logistics industry. So that's sort of, you know, really important to know. And you might not have ever thought about products like this before. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a bit of a video now, and it is sort of an everyday product, and the video might change the way you think about that specific product. So it will talk you through, well, I'll let you watch it, but it's going to tell you a little bit more about that product, and then changing the way you think about that product from a waste, energy and carbon footprint. So we'll move on. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that video. Now, a cup of coffee, I mean, it might not be something that you do drink. You know, I'm sure that you guys prefer lots of other drinks compared to a cup of coffee, but that's not the point. The point is that it could be any product. So think about a product that you might use every day. So, you know, a laptop, a mobile phone, a PlayStation, you know, your morning bowl of cereal, anything. If you think about a product, it's got a carbon footprint. There's energy associated with producing that product, and you know, around the transportation and the use of that product, and then the waste side of that product as well. So I think it's just about changing the way you think about that product. And we'll talk to you a bit more about how we've changed the way we think, and what that means for us as sort of sustainability professionals within the DHL supply chain. So I'll hand over to Tutu now.
And so, I mean, you've seen the impact, I suppose, of one everyday item, and the impacts that could have on the environment. Now, we were talking to you about the scale of DHL supply chain in the UK and Ireland and our over 380 and growing customers. Now, those customers have products, which we showed you earlier, and that means that taking into account what those products are and the services are, there's really a responsibility for us, for our customers, and for us to minimize the impact that we have on the environment. And as you just saw in that video, that means changing the way we think and effectively doing more with less. That's really what Going Green is about. So doing more with less. And so these approximately 380 customers have their own sustainability goals. And those sustainability goals should appear on the screen. And if you see, I mean, there's a whole range of sustainability goals that some of you might recognize, but again, if you don't recognize the sustainability goals, you'll recognize the brands. Okay, so again, this is around businesses taking ownership and thinking around how can they minimize their impact on the environment. Now, we're the glue in this logistics world that pulls all of this together and helps our customers to get their products to the right place at the right time. And so that means that we also have a responsibility to minimize our carbon footprint and the impact that our activities have on the environment, and hence go green, and hence our goals. We started in 2008. And this is a journey that we've been on 2008. In 2014, we've strengthened that responsibility that we have. And we said, we want to be the benchmark for responsible business. In 2017, we launched our new target around zero emissions and net zero emissions in logistics overall by 2050. And again, we now have a strengthened roadmap for 2021. Okay. Now, we'll so this is what our roadmap looks like, and this is what our targets currently look like. The question that we'd now like to ask you around this is, seeing as we are a logistics company, this is our footprint. So our footprint is large, but what does this mean? So we have 452,000 tons of CO2 emitted in 2020. But what does that equate to in numbers of smartphones? So there's loads of big numbers here. So hopefully that gives you a scale of what it means in carbon footprint terms. But in a number, if you were to guess, because there's no way you would know accurately, if you were to guess, what number do you think that is? Okay, so yes, it is 201,602,412,733. That's what it equates to in number of smartphones charged at any particular one point in time. So that's a large number. And the question is, what do we do with this large carbon footprint? And again, remember the question that we're asking here is, can a logistics company really go green? And so if Emily just shows back then, so we have our sustainability goals, our customers have our sustainability goals. What does that mean, and how do we go green? Okay, now we go green by having a Go Green Solutions portfolio. We've taken the impact of our largest activities. So there's transport, so the movement of goods using energy, fuel. There is warehousing, so keeping those, I suppose, those properties lit so that we can, move around the warehouse and see what we need to do, or move goods in around the warehouse. And also, again, like Emily was saying earlier, there is a packaging and waste footprint, right? So these goods typically will come with packaging, and they need that packaging to protect the goods, but we also need to get rid of the packaging. So those are the main what we would call material impacts. Those are the biggest impacts that we have. And as a result of those impacts, we have a Go Green Solutions portfolio for those impacts. I will tell you what those look like, but I also want to hear what you think might be the solutions that are in this portfolio right now, okay? So what are some of the solutions that you think that we might be implementing to, again, reduce the carbon footprint of our operations, okay? So you're thinking about fuel here, you're thinking about transport, you're thinking about warehousing, you're thinking about packaging. So what sort of things, what sort of things do you think we might put into play within our operations to reduce our carbon footprint? This is a word cloud, so let's hear what your ideas might be. Maybe think about technologies that you've seen around the place, for example, or things that you might have heard, or it might be an idea of your own that we might be looking to implement. Just what are those solutions that you think we might be implementing within our operations? Okay, yeah, cycling, brilliant, absolutely. So cycling, solar panels, yeah, some of that, biofuels. So let's see in that instance then. So let's see what we think versus what's come up here on the screen as well. So absolutely, some of the ones that you mentioned are in there, and you'll see them. But actually, what we really start off with is looking at how we make sure that we develop solutions that can be spread across our business easily, okay? And those are the things that we call our standards, which I'm not going to go through at all. But what I wanted to bring out here is that a couple of these things are the things that make a major impact across the entire business. Because remember, we're trying to do more for less. So we want to use less fuel and we want to use less energy. So one example that we'll pick on here is you can see the truck at the bottom of the slide. Now the truck has a slightly curved roof, okay? So prior to creating this, and this was something that DHL partnered with a vehicle manufacturer to actually create. So prior to creating this, every truck was a rectangular shape. So it was quite boxy. And then we worked with this vehicle manufacturer actually to change the shape of the truck. So if you're into Formula One, you might think around, how the cars are built, and they're built to make sure that they can move through air much more efficiently. So there's less resistance. And maybe if some of you have taken physics, you might have heard of drag. So there's less resistance in the air. And this is exactly what that curved roof does. So the curved roof allows the truck to move much more smoother in the air, and that means it's using less fuel. And this was a solution that was developed by DHL with this vehicle manufacturer, okay? One of the other standards that we employ is around lighting. So again, this is where we are looking at LED lighting. Now, typically you see LED lights in homes, or maybe flashing LED lights, for example. And some of you would have probably heard parents saying, turn the lights off. But again, this really does work. So it works in warehouses. It's very much around making sure that people turn the lights off, and the lights that they're using are the most efficient lights, okay? So LED lights compared to a standard light save on average about 60% of energy. Now that's a lot of lights when we're talking in a warehouse, and that's a lot of energy. So we really start off with standards and getting our people to turn the lights off, and getting our drivers to drive more fuel efficiently whilst we're employing some of the technologies in place, okay? So our standards start first. And then, absolutely, we innovate. So I gave the example of the teardrop trailer, that's what they're called, so the curved roof shape. So whilst we're developing those standards, we're also then looking to pilot things and trial things. And because we're such a large company, it allows us to work with many of the manufacturers or many research and development companies, because we have a lot of places that they can trial them on, right? So they can actually figure out if something works before putting it out in the market. And so that's how we deal with innovation. And for example, on the left-hand side of the circle, you'll see a yellow truck. Now that was something, again, that we developed in partnership with a vehicle manufacturer, where we were looking for electric vehicles on the market for logistics companies, and we couldn't find one. So we built one with a vehicle manufacturer, okay? And I'll show you some other examples now. So remember, we're talking about our transport and warehousing solutions right now. So solar panels, so we're used to seeing solar panels on roofs, but we're probably not as used to seeing solar panels on trucks. And again, internally, so we launched a competition internally where we said, right, you know, if something was to cause a change in the logistics industry, what could it be? And this was an internal business challenge and an idea that was born out of this internal business challenge. And so now we have the ability to put solar panels on roofs. And what it does is it allows the generation of energy, which then means that there's certain things in the truck. So for example, things like air conditioning, or on a truck, something that allows the truck to carry goods, so what's called the tail lift. It powers things like that, so that again, they can use less fossil fuel, so less diesel, for example, in the truck, okay? And then from an electric vehicle point of view, so we started off with a smaller vehicle, the street scooter, but we now have, and I think it was November last year, where we launched a much bigger electric vehicle. So one of the challenges with electric vehicles is the weight of the battery. But again, we've been working with vehicle manufacturers to really think around the design, and DHL Supply Chain in the UK and Ireland was the first logistics company to use this much bigger size electric vehicle, and that allows us to deliver into the high streets, so into London, for example, and take out air pollution from the environment. So rather than use diesel trucks, and we use electric trucks, which has a positive impact on the air quality within that space as well, okay? And then there's also gas. So again, we use certain fuels from that have been produced from waste. So rather than use gas that is extracted in fossil terms, then we use gas that is produced from waste. So that's in a transport space. And in the warehousing, so yeah, more solar panels on the roof. So that allows us to produce more energy, which means that we can rely less on energy that is produced from the grid, that might not have as high content of renewable supply. And we're also making use of the ground of heat pump technology, and heat pumps effectively take advantage of the difference in temperature, either in the air or in the ground. Okay, so we do standard solutions, we do innovative solutions, and it's around, you know, piecing all of that together to help us to use less resources and to be way more efficient. Okay, so that's our buildings and our transport. But remember, this is about changing the way you think, and changing the way you think then allows innovation and allows us to think about things differently, and then allows us to come up with solutions. So I'm showing you here some examples of packaging and waste solutions. One of the things that we also do, and again, you know, the logistics industry is quite varied. So if you're thinking about a career here, it's not purely about drivers and warehousing. So we're really giving you an insight into some of the things that we do. And here, what we're doing is taking packaging waste from airlines, so packaging waste, food waste from airlines specifically in this instance. Now, there's certain things that we have to comply with, but we can take some of that food waste, we dry that food waste, and we use that food waste as a source of energy. So something that would typically have gone into landfill, which is not great, because what you're doing is taking that resource and you're burying it, you're not using it anymore. Something that would typically have gone into landfill, which, you know, causes odor and noise, can now become a source of heat, and that's part of logistics. The other thing is packaging. So thinking around packaging, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you would have, you know, read and seen the news, but also, you know, the impacts of single-use packaging, whether it's, you know, plastic bottles or individual pieces of cutlery. So again, we're thinking about how can we do things differently. So rather than wrap the products with packaging that just gets used once, we are investigating and already using reusable packaging. So that means we can use them over and over again, but we're also thinking about where the source of the packaging is made. So we don't want to keep using fossil fuel sources to produce the plastic. So we might be thinking of more renewable sources. And an example here is something called grass paper packaging. Okay, so changing the way we think, adapting, and using less resources to do more work. Okay, but behind all of this is our people. So people, you know, operate in the warehouses, people drive the trucks, our people really are the driving force as well. We need people to be really engaged and to adopt these solutions, but to also continuously think about new solutions. And so we've just got a collage here of our people that really care about the environment. So enhancing biodiversity where they are. So, tree planting, for example, or creating a multi-diverse space around them so that they can house and be homes to bees and different sorts of insects, but also our people going around into the community and litter picking. Okay, this really is the glue behind our Go Green efforts around our transport, our warehousing and packaging. Our people really is the glue behind all of that. So that's a bit about our journey. The question is, has it really made an impact? So earlier on, we showed you what the targets are. We talked about 2008, 2014, and our really bold ambition by that we launched in 2017 to be net zero carbon emissions by 2050. But has it made an impact? The answer is yes, because we manage and we measure. So we measure what it is, and then we manage that, and we're able to tell how far it is that we have gone along this journey. And so when we launched in 2008, we've had a series of milestones where we are showing actually now a carbon efficiency improvement. So effectively what that means is how much better were you in 2008 if you started at 0, and how much better are you now? So right now in 2020, our carbon efficiency is 40%. So we're 40% better off than we were in 2008. And by 2050, we want to be 100% better off. So that means net zero emissions. We're not, emitting more than we're producing into the atmosphere. We're showing the 2016 timeline. By 2016, we were 30% improvement, but like I say, we're about 40% now. So we think that we've made significant strides in logistics and in going green. The question that we'll now ask you is, what do you think? So having heard some of the things that we've talked to you about, and having started at the beginning, the question is, can a logistics company really go green? So what do you think? Yes or no? Can a logistics company go green? Okay, so I've got a couple of answers in. A couple of seconds left. This one, I'd really like to find out what you think. Yes, we have converts. I'm so pleased. I wasn't sure. Yeah, but yes, a logistics company really can go green. And again, it starts off, with the way you think. And I think that it's not, and I'm hoping, based on what we're showing you today, that you can really take some of that thinking, because actually it's not just about the logistics company. It applies to everyone. It applies to everything. It applies to you and how you think. So you can go green. You can help other people to go green. Really, the mindset is what needs changing, and it's around that mindset thing that allows us to make that impact. So the question is, can a logistics go green? I think we've said that. The question then is, because this is a careers talk, right? What is our role in that? And I'll hand over to Emily to kick off. So Emily, what's our role in going green?
Yes, so I'm just looking at time. I think we've got 10 minutes, so okay. We'll try and get through some of this.
Very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. So, I mean, a little bit of information about our role. So, I mean, myself and Tutu, we're just 2 people, and actually within the UK and Ireland, it is just us 2 within the Go Green team. So we can't do it all ourselves. And a big part of our role is actually helping other people. So it's our people, those change agents, who can actually really support us and really support the business in going green and helping our customers as well, achieving their own sustainability targets. So a big part of our role is actually, helping others play their own part in going green and knowing what they can do within their own role to go green. But other elements of that, I mean, in terms of some of these solutions, actually it's strategic thinking and planning in terms of where can we implement some of these solutions, working with different stakeholders and customers across the business, in terms of sort of implementation, in terms of planning pilots of these solutions, We do reporting, so obviously we need to do carbon reporting, we need to do footprint, waste reporting. So there's a whole host of different things that we do, and our role as sustainability professionals. But I mean, overall, a big part of what we do is actually building those relationships with people that we work with. So with our customers, with different people from across the business, different teams, with our colleagues, with people actually across other regions as well. So if I just move on, as we said at the start, well, I don't know if we did actually say at the start, but we are a global company. So Deutsche Post Group is global, DHL Supply Chain is global, and myself and Tutu, we work within the UK and I region, but there's a GoGreen. It's a global GoGreen team that sits across all of the regions. So what we have to do, and a part of our role, is actually working with stakeholders and customers from different regions and actually sharing what we're doing, sharing that best practice, and actually making sure that our approach is similar, because we don't want to be saying one thing to one customer and then something else slightly different to another customer. We want to make sure that we're aligned in our thinking and our approach, and obviously sharing what we're doing across the regions. So that's a part of what we do. So I think Tutu's just showing up another Kahoot question now. So the question is, what sort of skills do you think we need in within our role? So I'm sure you talk a lot about skills at school.
And it's those transferable skills, right? So it's not just one thing. So what kind of skills? Emily's talked about how we share best practice. She's also talked about some of the reporting that we need to do. So just think around those sorts of things might help in terms of the kind of words that might come to fore. Yep. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I love that creativity, leadership. Absolutely. Yeah, creativity around how do we get things to people in such a way that it's engaging, but also how do we create something new? And absolutely leadership. Yeah, a lot of people do look to us to provide that kind of leadership.
Okay. So yeah, some of those actually we didn't get exactly the same ones as you guys, but they're skills that we definitely need. But yeah, we put together a little bit of a toolkit here in terms of some of the skills and those transferable skills that we've sort of built up and that we use within our day-to-day role as sort of sustainability professionals. So we just thought, actually, okay, we are where we are, and we're both working within the sustainability area of the business. But actually, it'd be good to just give you guys a little bit. Oh, getting a bit of a echo.
Might be someone's.
Not sure. I can hear a bit of music.
Let me see if I can mute. I don't know where.
We can almost.
There we go.
Mute. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I was just saying before we got slightly interrupted. So we wanted to just give you a bit of an insight in terms of our career, and we haven't got much time, but in terms of how we've got to where we are. So for me, I started. Well, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't know for sure that I wanted to go into the sort of the sustainability area of the business. It's not something that I've known about for too long. So I just sort of at school and at A level, I just did subjects that I enjoyed. Did lots of extracurricular activities, a part-time job, some volunteering, played sports, I played netball, and sort of through that I built a lot of my skills, so teamwork, communication, etc. Went to university, studied business economics because also it's something that I enjoyed, and did various other extracurricular activities and part-time job. And as part of my course at uni, I had to do an industrial placement. So that was when I first found out and didn't know too much about DHL, but I secured a placement year with DHL and worked within one of our retail warehouses. And that really gave me a basis of knowledge in terms of how the operation works, and built lots of my skills within that role, especially sort of communication and relationship building. Went back to uni, and then after uni came back to the business and went on to the graduate scheme, did a couple of different roles on the graduate scheme, neither of those roles being within the sustainability area of the business, but different roles. Learned a lot about the business, learned a lot about myself, developed a lot more of my skills. And then sort of after finishing the graduate scheme, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. The opportunity came up to take a role within the GoGreen team, and I thought to myself, okay, I've got a skill set that sort of works within that area. I was interested in sustainability. I'd done those sorts, a couple of modules at uni on sustainability, and so I just decided, that was decided to take that role, and I am where I am. But like I say, for me, it hasn't been that I've always known what I wanted to do, but that's where I am now. But I'll quickly move on, and Tutu can tell you about her journey, because that was slightly different.
So again, I mean, the journey is slightly different, but you notice that although we said that the skills, the skills toolkit itself is definitely not exhaustive, and we already had a number of additional words there which I really liked coming through the Kahoot quiz. We've left this sort of the same at the minute, just to show you that actually you can pursue a career in a different way and in a different path. But the skills remain the same. So actually, if you can develop those skills, then you can absolutely transfer them across to any career that it is that you would like, regardless of the path that you come through. So my path really into sustainability is one that was conscious. So whilst Emily's wasn't necessarily conscious, I always knew that I wanted to do something that was going to be relating to actually wanting to really make an impact on people. Now, there were various ways I thought I could make an impact on people. I had ideas around being a doctor maybe, but actually I began to really understand from the environmental side of things that I could make an impact by being a sustainability professional and really leading change. So I decided quite early on to go on that path. I took a number of science A levels, but at the same time as well, did do a number of roles outside of school. So whether it's paid, unpaid roles, I worked in IT, troubleshooting IT. I played at concerts because I play an instrument, and again that helps me with my confidence or presentation skills, if you like. And but from uni, I studied a microbiology degree, and then went on to study for a master's in environmental management and science. Along the lines, I also worked in, research writing, which again allows me to be able to, look at topics and summarize them and produce a report. And again, these are things that we now use, within our day-to-day roles. When I joined Supply Chain, it was part of a graduate placement program, but I already had a number of jobs around that time as well. But it was part of a graduate placement program within a very specific part of the business, which is the Enviro Solutions, which the clues in the name is around environmental solutions within the business. And then I moved on from that part of the business to working in GoGreen. So I started off in the GoGreen team really as a junior member of the team, and then worked my way through up to leading the agenda really now for supply chain in the UK and Ireland. So as Emily said, we've taken different career paths, but ended up in the same place. And I think, the core message from here really is those transferable skills, which you can get in both a formalized environment and an informal environment, but that allows you to apply it one way or the other into this career, as we have seen, or into any career that it is that you choose. There are other ways also into DHL. So I know that a number of our colleagues, for example, are leaders, for example, in their operations, leading their own environmental committees, and they also look for roles within this space as well. And there's apprenticeships, etc. So really, a variety of ways to get into sustainability or into the logistics environment in general. Okay, so we've talked at you. We've done lots of Kahoots. You've answered the question about can a logistics company really go green, which is brilliant. I don't know if there are any other questions. Alison did say that we could extend a little bit. So if there are any questions at this point, we can take them, Alison. Otherwise, that's really it from myself and Emily. And thanks for giving us the opportunity today.
So if you've got any questions, either pop them in chat or raise your hand. I'd like to thank Tutu and Emily for presenting today. It's been really interesting and showed a different side, really, of the logistics industry, and the wealth of jobs within there as well. I mean, who knew there were those roles available in the logistics industry? There's all sorts if you look at that. So if you are interested, do have a research of that, because it's a growing industry, and has become, as you'll have all seen, really important during the pandemic as well. So it can only get bigger, and there's loads of opportunities in there, both at apprenticeship level, at graduate level, degree apprenticeship level. So Absolutely. There's all those different opportunities. So it doesn't look like anybody's got any questions at the moment. Maybe you answered them all in your talk, but thanks everyone for joining us, and a great big thanks to our partners DHL for doing this session. We've really appreciated it. So thanks everyone for attending, and have a good rest of your day. And do remember, there's more insight sessions every Thursday, so do sign up for them every Thursday in July. Careers in the morning and skills in the afternoon.
Brilliant.
Lots of thanks coming through on the chat.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.